Hi everyone, good evening. So yesterday we were talking about Azure Firewall. So we completed half of the part of this firewall, and today we are going to complete the remaining part of this Azure Firewall. So before going to start with the remaining firewall concept, let's again recap what is firewall, what we have done yesterday, and what we are going to do. So again, what I'm going to do, I'll take a new paint, right? So here we are talking about Azure Firewall. So what is the purpose of this firewall? And what is the difference between the NSG and firewall? We already have NSG, so that you can create an NSG and you can attach to a VM or you can attach to a subnet. So whatever the rules you mentioned, it will be applied to that particular VM or maybe a subnet. So that if you attach to a subnet, then it will apply to all the VMs from that subnet. Now we are talking about firewall. So whenever you create a VNet and you are creating a subnet inside that one, and inside the subnet you are creating a VM. So this is a VM, and this is an subnet, and this is an VNet. And whenever you are creating a VNet, by default NSG will get created, or you can attach a NSG later on also. So this NSG you are going to apply rules like which port can be accessed inside this VM, right? Same way outgoing also, what are the rules you want, you can apply it. But now we are talking about the Azure Firewall. So why we need to create this firewall? Because Azure Firewall is more advanced in the NSG. So firewall is like a combination of NSG plus NAT gateway. So in the firewall, you can use as an NSG, and also NAT gateway also you can use. Both are combination firewall, and compared to NSG, little bit more advanced. Why? Because in NSG, you cannot block any websites. You can just only block, like for example, outgoing internet. If you go and access, if you mention any website, people can go and access, but you cannot block specific websites. Only you can define IP address. In the NSG outbound rule, so you can mention only the IP address, but for websites you don't have, by default you don't get any IP address for the websites, because they will keep on change. If you take gmail.com or any websites, if you take, they will keep on change. In some organizations, whenever you work for any organization, some websites will not work. Maybe Gmail might not work, or maybe YouTube might not work, or some sites might not work. So that way, if you want to access, block any internet, like for specific websites, so this is going to do filtering for application level also. So NSG is going to do only the network level firewall blocking, but Azure Firewall is going to do the application level firewall blocking. And also apart from that, it is going to save you from different kind of attacks, malicious attacks, trojans attacks. Also firewall is going to save. So that is the reason we will use firewall. And you can use both also. You want to attach NSG also, you can attach, and firewall also you can able to use. So in between, like there will be a firewall concept will come, and this firewall you can use. So outgoing, whatever you are going to try to access, you can block everything here, so that which site you want to access and which site you want to allow, that can be defined inside this one. Understood? So that's why we are creating the firewall. So to practice this firewall, we need many things, like we need a VNet, and to have a VM, obviously we need to have a subnet. And so same way we are creating two VNets to take different scenarios, like this VNet, and here also we'll create one subnet, one VM, and this will have one NSG, this will have one NSG, right? So we need to arrange all these things. And also we discussed we need peering. Why? Because this VNet And this firewall also we need to create inside a VNet only. So here this VNet and this VNet and this VNet and this VNet should have a peering. So we need to configure peering, and after that we need to configure route tables. Routing we need to decide. We need to configure route table. So yesterday we were discussing the same thing. So here to configure this firewall, we need to have many things. So to set up that step by step we were discussing. So better to have three resource groups. So for this VNet, all this content like VNet, subnets, Azure Firewall, all the things will be inside one RG, and this VNet, subnet, VMs, NSGs, everything will be in the another RG, and the same way this way, like three resource groups and 1, 2, 3 VNets, and in each VNet we'll have one subnet. But here we created two subnets in the hub VNet. So here already we discussed to create a firewall, you should create separate uh, subnet name which is provided by the Azure. So when you provide that subnet name, automatically it will pick up and it will block and it will provide some apply some policies kind of thing to that subnet. So you cannot use that subnet anymore to create any virtual machines inside that. So it is reserved for only firewall. That's why they are expecting specific name so that Azure automatically will pick up and to apply some rules on it. And NSGs, like one NSG here, one NSG here, and one NSG to this VM. This is called as a management host. And once it is done, we enable peering between this one so that communication is established. And after that, we create a firewall. So this firewall we create inside this VNet. And after creating firewall, we will create user defined routes. So till yesterday, we created till here. I created this one, but I deleted it immediately. So now let's go and create the firewall. This I think yesterday it got created, but it is not available now. I deleted it. So firewalls remaining everything as it is. I mentioned I did not delete it, and even I did not shut down also. These VMs were up and running since yesterday. Now I need to create a VM, sorry, firewalls. And yesterday we were facing some issue, right? For free subscription, 3 IPs it was expecting. So you also, those who are doing the free subscription, then please delete one of the IP for one of the VM. Then you can able to use that for the firewall, because we don't want IP to this machine. Okay, so that is if this machine doesn't have public IP, nothing is going to happen. Resource group and hub RG, and this is a one firewall 001. This is the name I'm providing, and region West US. Remaining all are in the same region, so that's why I'm providing as a West US. And this is the standard I'm going to take. And here I will choose firewall rules. Which VNet I'm going to use existing VNet, and here we are going to create this one. Inside this hub RG VNet, we will create this firewall and choose public IP. Yesterday I created this one, right? Using the same one, firewall public IP. And now next tags, nothing, review and create. So I think successfully it will get created. So it is getting created now. Can you brief about NAT? NAT is a network address translation. Like yesterday I mentioned here, uh, these VMs will not have any public IPs in the real time. Most of the VMs of the specific subnets will not have a public IPs, but they want to access the internet. So what will happen? It will come to firewall with the private IP only. It will come here. Firewall will take that request and it will use this public IP, and then it will go and talk to the external world. So basically this concept is used by the NAT, network address translation. So here this is a kind of NAT only. So traffic is coming here and it is taking that private IP and then it converts to the public IP. It will go and access the external world. So to this external world, if you access google.com, in the google.com database, it will register this public IP, not the private IP of a VM. So like this, all the VMs, whichever VMs are trying to go from this firewall, then all these private IPs will be registered here. In the firewall, you can see the traffic flow, which IP is trying to access to which websites. But then it will convert to this public IP. Externally, it will go and talk to the internet. Even another VM is there that is accessing from youtube.com. So in youtube.com also it will register with the same public IP. Everywhere it will go with this IP only. This is called as a kind of a NATing only. Network address translation. It's translating. Instead of this IP, it is going and working this IP. And it got created. So again, I want to explain you here. Uh, Whenever we are creating the VM, it is going and accessing the internet by default. Excuse me. Whenever we create a VMs in the subnets, it's directly going and accessing the internet. Now we want to change that route and we should tell that don't go in that way. Use this path. Use firewall and access the internet. That is the purpose. Now we are trying. So in like once this firewall is done right, now I'm going to talk about route tables. Then we'll explain in detail. What is the difference between VNet and I think you did not attend VNet peering. We discussed in detail about VNet peering. VNet peering is communication between two different VNets. There is no communication between one VNet to another VNet. If you this VM cannot able to communicate because this is in the this VNet, this is in the this VNet. So to establish communication, we will configure peering between these two so that they can able to communicate. Okay. So now firewall is created. I think we created peering. I think so, right? I'll just go and confirm from hubrg vnet. Peering is created. Peerings, yeah, peerings are created. So now what is left? So till peering we are done, firewall is done, user defined routes we need to create. Now this is very important concept, you need to understand it. Like routes or route tables. So now to communicate VNet to VNet, we use VNet peering. Okay. So now, just now I told you why we are creating. See, whenever when we talk, when we are discussing about VNet in the initial days, you want to launch some VMs. So what is required? Just forget about firewall, all these things now. Just we go back when we discussed about a VNet or VM creation. If you want to create a VMs, so what is required? The base is VNet is required. So when you create a VNet, it depend upon your requirement. You will create multiple subnets. Even you want to create one subnet, two subnets, three subnets, depend upon the requirement. And inside that you will launch the VMs, multiple VMs, 10, 20, depend. Like we'll take example of this two VMs or one VM. And when this VM is created, what we have learned, once this VM is created, then it can go and access the internet. And from internet also we can go and access to this public IP. If you assign a public IP, then from internet also we can able to access it. And from this machine also we can go and able to access it. So how it is going and accessing this VM is having NSG by default. It's getting, you did not create any NSG. Assume by default when VM got created, NSG got created. So in NSG, what was defined when we talked about NSG? By default is mentioned go and access the internet. Means it is allowing the, there is a rule that you can go and access the internet. But NSG did not tell the path how to go, right? For example, if I tell that like to someone, go to some specific location to my office, but I did not tell how to go, how to like how to find the path to go to some destination. I did not tell. I'm only allowing that person just to go to that destination. So NSG is allowing the rule, but it did not define anywhere. Then how it is going? Like previously we were discussing, I was keep on telling that it is going in this way, it is going in this way, but where it is defined, where it is defined that it should go some specific path and access the internet, and from internet should come and access this particular machines. So by default here you have a system defined routes. This is very, very important because you cannot see it. It is not visible for you. For example, if I go and check route tables here, nothing is there. By default, you don't see any route tables here. But there is a system defined routes are already available. I'll check any image is available. System defined routes in Azure. System routes. If you see, this is the one. So because of this, it is telling next hop count. So this is the route already has been created, and that's the reason these machines are going and accessing the internet with the help of this route table only. These are all none means nothing, no use. Only this one, if you see 0.0.0.0/0, next hop type is internet. So it is telling that use this Azure internet and go and access the internet. But that is not safe. That is what we want to change now. Don't use that path which is telling by the Azure by default. So we need to modify that route, and we should tell that don't use that way because that is not secure. We created a firewall, and then you create user defined routes means I am going to create a custom route, and I'll tell to the subnets that use these routes to go and access the internet. Then only this machines knows that we have a subnet. Sorry, we have a firewall. Otherwise, even though you created a firewall, this VMs doesn't know that you have a firewall. It should go from here because as per Azure by default, it will use internet, Azure internet. This is called Azure internet means nothing but an internet gateway. So by using this gateway, it is reaching the destination. 0.0.0 means this is destination. Internet, there is no specific IP address. lakhs of IP addresses will be there. So you cannot specify anything for internet. You just go and access the internet by using the Azure. Next, hope count means what? By using this path, you go there. Understood? So that is called, this route tables will help you now. Now we are going to create custom routes. So in this custom route, we will tell, don't go that way, and whatever the hope count you decide, next hope count you decide, you use that particular hope count and go to the destination. Understood? So now let's create this routing tables now. Okay. So now I'll create routes. I'll go to the route table. So create a route table here. This is a first, initially it will just a basic route table will create. Route table, you can use this one, Habarji, and name is route to internet. This is the name I'm providing. I'll explain this later. Propagate gateway routes. When we talk about VPN at that time, I will explain you this one. Review. And create. As of now, it's just a name, one route we created. Then we create rules inside that once the route table has been created. So this route table is getting created. So there will be system defined routes and user defined routes will be there. That's why we call it the UDR. User defined routes means we will define. But once I create user defined routes, there it will show the system defined routes also. I will show you once I create it. Go to the resource. So I created one route right now. I did not created any routes here. If you see, go to the routes, nothing is there. But in the same screen, if you see effective routes, here it should show associated route table. Total can be to 0 or more virtual network subnets. You can add or modify subnet. Okay, at least if you create one route, maybe it will be visible. But before that only, it should show here effective routes by default. Okay, here it will show the same thing. Whatever I shown here, this one will be visible here. Effective routes. So now I'm going to create a route. Add here route name. I don't think like associate with one subnet, but here we don't. It's not showing any subnet because so. But once we create routes, it will be overwritten. It will show the custom routes. Before creating our own routes only, it should show the effective routes. Once I create routes, then it will overwrite it. It will show our routes only. The custom, like system defined routes will be overwrite. Subnets. Okay. Add associate with subnet. Let's try associating with subnet. Yeah, for the subnet, this is a route it is going to show now. Yeah, so these are the default routes. So wherever it is showing next hop none means this rule is not applying. You see here, and here address prefix means destination. So here, if you see, these are the two private IP range. And when we created VNet peering, so that's why it is showing next hop count is VNet peering. Means from one range to here, if you want to reach, what is your next hop? So that is called VNet peering. By using VNet peering, it is telling that go and access the different network. So that is what I would like to discuss. This route tables is going to show you the path. See, the same VM trying to access the internet, we are using what? Let's say I'll remove this one. So the same VM trying to access the internet. So what we are trying to create now? Firewall. So we are creating a firewall, Azure Firewall, and we are telling to VM to use this firewall. This is called as a hop count. Hop means use this path and go and access the internet, right? But how we are telling? By using the route tables, and that route tables we are attaching it to the subnets, so that we are telling whatever the VMs inside this subnet should use this firewall and go and access the internet. And again, same VM want to access on premises. Assume this is an hybrid cloud. Some of the services are running on premises, some services on the cloud. Then from here you want to access on premises. Then you cannot use firewall. Firewall is for internet access only for your VMs. So what you need to do is the same VM again want to access here. So now what you are going to do, you are going to use VPN, virtual private network service you are going to create. And again what you will do, again you will create a route tables, and you are telling the path, go this way, use the VPN and access the on premises environment. Just a second, guys. Okay, so on premises to reach, then it will be like a, again you need to tell the route table. Even though if you created VPN, doesn't matter. Your subnet should know that how to go. You should tell by using which path it should go and reach the on premises. So this is called a hope. So by this way, you are telling use this VPN and go and access the on premises. And on premises again, it's like a private network. Private network. And maybe this is something like IP address is 192.168. Some 0.0, something like this, some private IP range. It is going to access to this private IP range from here with the help of VPN. And same VMs, again it want to access what? Same data center, but this time it should access a public IP. One VM is there. Assume this is not like on premises. This is not maybe your hybrid cloud. This may be some client, some other client. We don't want to access entire their servers. So this is like client machines. They are doing separate their business, but one of your VM or one of your like some of your machines want to access this specific VM. So then what you are going to do, then VPN will not work. Then you need to go with the internet. So what are the Azure providing the internet? With the help of that internet, you are going to assign a public IP to this machine, and obviously they will provide some credentials to access this server. So to reach that, you have option to have the internet service. So use the internet and connect to this machine. So this way, multiple destinations will be there. The same VM cannot use the same path every time. Here the single VM, multiple destinations. So different destination will use different path. So these paths you will define in the route tables. You are going to tell in the route tables that go and use this one to access specific things. So you are going to mention. Now I will show you how to create the route table. Then you will understand easily what is the purpose of your creation, what is the requirement. Based on that, you will create this virtual appliances. We call this as a virtual appliances. Okay, and if it is your same data center, means same Azure cloud, and then you want to connect to another VNet, what you are doing? No, peering you are doing. So you are doing peering. So whenever you created peering, automatically backend it created a route table. That's why it is showing here. If you see, this is a default route has been created, VNet peering next hop. So it is telling that use VNet. Here we don't need internet. Here you don't need any VPN. Here you don't need any firewall. VNet peering will do your work. For example, uh, not in your cloud. Assume this is client, but they are also in the Azure. The same like client, this is like on premises. If this is a on premises client machine, assume this is client is also in the Azure. He is having his own tenant account and he is having his own business in the Azure itself, and you are also in the Azure. So at that, then it doesn't mean that they are in the Azure and they are in the different business. You should not use VPN or internet. You can use VNet peering also. At the time of VNet peering, I have told you, from your account you can enable peering to different account also. If the customer or another person is in the another tenant, completely different accounts, you can enable peering. For that, you don't need internet. You don't need to go via internet and access here. From Azure itself, we are going to access their VNets. If the client is on premises, not in the Azure, or maybe in the AWS or somewhere else, then you should use public IP for that machine to whichever machine you want to access. Then you can go and access this one. So all these paths, how you are going to define, these all will be defined inside the routing tables. So in the routing table, you will tell that which network should go or which IP should go to destination by so and so path, by choosing so and so path. That is the main purpose of the routing tables. Understood? So you are going to create your own custom routes, and then you will define that destinations. So default system routes by default, that's why whenever you create a VM, we can't see it, but by default these are the, not this one. When you created one VNet, right, at that time it is showing 10.10.0, means what it is telling, next hope. So next hope is, it is telling use your internal virtual network only to communicate to the 10 series. That is what it is telling. Means here, to communicate to this VNet, it is telling use internal virtual network only to communicate to all these machines inside this VNet. That's why it is showing next hop count is virtual network. And by default, this is internet is a default route is already created. So 0.0.0.0. So this is like an internet gateway. So this machine will go and access the internet by using the Azure internet gateway. So it doesn't have any filters. Directly it will go and access it. That we are changing now. Now understood? When we talk about VPN, again we'll come back to the route tables only. We'll create VPN. But how this know that we have a VPN? Same, create route tables and tell them that use this path and go and access here. Understood? So now let's create the routes here. Add route name. So what I'm going to do, what I can give here, uh, route to project 1 and destination prefix. So destination prefix, IP address, and I'm going to give IP address here. So what we can give 0.0.0.0/0. Why I'm giving /0? This is destination IP address range is we are trying to access the internet. Here the requirement is this scenario. So in this is destination. So internet means we don't have any specific IP range. That's why I'm giving 0.0.0. And here next hope type. This is what I was discussing. Internet, virtual network gateway. So now virtual network gateway already I discussed like kind of VPN, and virtual network is you cannot select virtual network because it is trying to go and access the external world, so you cannot use it. Okay, so we should use virtual appliance. So your firewall will comes under the virtual appliance. So select this one, and I was taking this example, right? Internet. If this is the requirement, then use internet over there. And destination IP, then give the destination IP over here. Don't use 000 if this is the requirement. Already public IP is provided by your client. So take that public IP and give it here. And then here select next hop internet. Then you are telling that use this internet to reach this one to this IP. Understood? So now I am going to select virtual appliance. None means it is not, you are blocking it. And virtual appliance hope address means you selected this as a virtual appliance. And what is the IP address of your firewall? So now go to the firewall and take the IP address. Firewall IP is a dedicated IP address, static IP address. So that's why we need to provide that IP address. Firewall, and where is the IP address? Public IP address. This is the one. Copy it and provide it here. Understood? So here route to project one, this is just a name, and this is the destination IP address we are giving full range. 0.0.0.0 means any IP it can go and reach all the networks. Understood? And we are telling virtual appliance is a firewall, and this is an IP address. Now virtual appliance is Azure is providing you the firewall as a managed service. So they are calling it as a virtual appliance. There will be a lot of other virtual appliances will be there. So everything they don't want to mention here. So virtual appliance, firewall IP you provided. If something else, that is also called as a virtual appliance, and you provide the IP address of that one. Understood? So now add. Same way we'll add another router. So because I created for where it is for this one project one, I need to create for this one also. So I'll do that. Add route to project 2 and destination same IP address and 0.0.0.0/0. Okay, we should not create here. Okay, we should come back and maybe we should come back and create a new route here. Habarji name route for project 2. This is the name I'm providing. And then create it. So creating another route, and there we will define this one. Go to the resource and routes and add routes. Route name route to project 2, and destination is IP address 0.0.0.0/0, and next hope is a virtual appliance, and this is an IP address of firewall added. So here we created user defined routes, but we did not attach or associate this to the subnet. So always remember, user defined routes needs to be attached to the subnets, not to the VMs or VNets. We need to attach it to the subnet level. So we should go and associate to the subnet level. So here in the same, you can see subnets, associate. So right now I'm using this one, project 2, and select the project 2, and only one subnet is there. I'm selecting this one, and again I'm going back to the project 1, route tables, this one, and subnets, associate, project 1, and this is the one subnet. Okay, so now what we have done here, whatever the routes we created, it has been attached. Means now we are telling that whatever the VMs inside your subnet should use this firewall. Now if I go to the VM virtual machines, project 1, it is having public IP, right? I'm taking this public IP. See, previously I could able to connect. I already, before starting the session, I already connected to this machine. If you see here, 20.66.61.5, this is a VM, the same one. Now again, I'll open a new session to the same machine. Sorry. And specify username. Now I cannot able to connect. Why? Why I cannot able to connect to this VM? Why? Because previously it was using the default internet gateway to go and access, and from outside also everyone can go and able to access that. But now when we attached this routing table to the subnet, now from internet you cannot able to access it. There is no way to go and access to this machine. Directly you cannot go. Even though if you have public IP, firewall will block you. So if you go to the routes now, and if you see whatever the route has been created in the effective routes, if you see, we'll mention this one. This is the project one server. In the same server, one of the VM is available, which I was trying to connect. So for this subnet level, it is showing. So here, if you see, now if you see default state is invalid. I did not do anything. This is overwritten. So now this machine's internet is not working. This default internet is not working. And the next, if you see, this is active. User defined is active router. So you see, next hope IP address is this one, 20.237.161.216. So what it is telling, if you want to go and access the external world internet, then it will use this firewall IP to go and access the external world. Previously, it was using this internet default Azure internet gateway, and it was accessing the internet, and from outside also people are coming. But now this is the hope address. So what we decided, use this one and to go and access internet. But to check that whether VM is having internet access, first of all, I should able to log in, right? So how to log in? So I should use this management host. So that's why I created this one. Now I log into here. From here, with the help of this private IP, I will connect to this VM. Understood? So this is called kind of a jump host, we can call, or management host. So from here, I will connect to this machine. So go to that machine, go to the VMs, HubRG VM, and this is a public IP. Now I'll open a new session. So this way you can secure your environment also. From outside also, no one can able to access your machines. And Cloud Freak. And why this is not working? Because in the route table, we associated this subnet also to check the features. So that's why I will do what? I will disassociate that subnet. If you see the subnets here, this is the one. Route table, none here. I'm removing route table because it got selected. When I want to check the effective routes at the time of discussing, so I selected this subnet to see that. That's why this is also not working. So now I'm going to do, I just came here and I removed route table none. Previously it was selected this one. Now I'm making it as a none. Save. So what happens? It means by default, this VNet, this subnet is using the default internet. So that's why I can able to access this machine. If it is completed, I'll try again. Shift R. Again, I'll try. Shift R. Yeah, now it is accepting. It took some time. So now I am trying to logging in. This is a hub RG, means this is a management server. And here I need to connect to the VM, this VM, because from outside I cannot able to access. So to connect this, I no need to have a public IP. I can have a private IP because already we established peering between these two. So I should connect from here to here with this IP. So let me go and check the private IP of project one server. This the one. What is the private IP of this machine? This is the one. Take this and try to do SSH. Yes. And give the password. Connected. Okay. So connected to this project 01 VM. And now from here we can check uh, curl google.com. I cannot able to access google.com. But if I check trace route uh, 8.8.8.8 DNS server IP address, trace route. Let me check the routes. So basically here when we do the trace route, it should show our firewall IP so that we can confirm that it is going via the firewall only. Means when I'm trying to access the internet now, trace route or then because we configured routes and we attach it to the subnet, and when VM trying to access internet, it should go from here. So it should define the IP address range of this subnet should be available here, but it is not showing. But also it is not accessing also the internet. That is expected. When I type curl google.com, it is not able to access the internet. Previously, in yesterday's session, if you remember, I was able to do curl google.com or curl gmail.com. We could able to access. So now we cannot able to access. I will check why it is still showing, still not showing the firewall as a route here when we do trace route here, but internet is not accessible here. Why? Because by default, as I mentioned, firewall is having uh, NSG rules. Okay, so by default it will not allow everything. The same how you configure in NSG, same in the firewall also you need to configure NSG rules. So now I'm going to the firewall and I should allow explicitly that this IP is trying to access internet and I should allow it. Same like NSG rule. So what are the firewall we created? We mentioned that use this firewall, but this firewall is blocking everything. So that's why our machine cannot able to go and access the internet. So if you go to the firewall, here you can see rules classic, open this one and create a rule here. NAT rule collection, network rule collection, application rule collection. As of now, ignore this NAT rule collection. We'll focus on these two, network rule collection and application rule collection. Network rule collection is same like NSG only. There is no difference. Only this firewall main advantage is this one. Application rule collection means you can configure blocking of the websites also over here. So first we'll talk about this network rule collection. Add network rule collection. Same give name. Allow access or maybe access to internet. Priority same, you know, in NSG also same way we'll use, and here also we'll use, I'll use some 200. Action allow, and here you can see rules, IP addresses, and whatever want you can define here. Sorry, I don't know how it got pressed. So here I'm creating a network rule in the firewall. So firewall, whenever we created here, and to use this firewall, we created routes, and that routes we attached to the subnet. So in that route, we defined that this firewall IP address and internet 0.0.0 to access the internet 0.0.0 network range inside these routes, and this path we attached it to the subnet, so that all the VMs will use that route and it will go and access the internet. So now by doing that, I'm trying to access the internet from this VM, but I cannot able to access. Why? Because by default firewall is blocking. So we need to create a rule here to allow. So that is what I'm trying to create here. I'm creating a rule here, just provided some name, same like NSG, priority 200 and action allow or deny. So I'm allowing, and this is an source type IP address. Source is IP address of this VM, and destination it's an internet. So that's why I provided star, and ports is also star. Now add it. So after it is successfully updated, then again I'll go and check here. Then we'll see curl.com whether it works or not. I should able to access internet from this machine after this rule is getting updated. So rule is not yet updated. It is taking longer time to create one rule. Think it got created. But still it's not showing here. 172.16.1.4 same has been provided here. Why it should able to access? Firewall is having any 161.16 firewall IP. Or else I'll try to access another machine. We'll see whether for that machine VM2 take the private IP. By default, we did not create any rule for this IP, so it will not work. We don't have any rule, so it will not work to this machine. Okay, I'll check this and I'll let you know why it is not working. Where it went wrong, I'll try. Hi everyone, good evening. So yesterday we were talking about Azure Firewall and we faced some issue. So after like finishing the class, I was just verifying and I have done one mistake. So here, when we are configuring these route tables, we configure two route tables, right? Two routes. And here, if you go to the one of the route and if you see in the routes, here we provided IP address and destination means to internet we want to reach. And this is the next hope type virtual appliance, which is a firewall. And here we need to provide the firewall IP address. But yesterday I provided firewall's public IP address by mistake. So that is the reason we cannot able to that virtual machines, whatever we were using, this virtual machine cannot able to access the internet. Why? Because when we provided inside this route, this public IP, it cannot reach this public IP directly. It should internally, it should reach this private IP of this machine, this firewall, and then it will take the request and it will use the public IP and go and access the internet. This way it will work. But instead of giving this private IP of the Azure firewall, I provided public IP over here. That's the reason we were facing issue yesterday. So I changed it now. If you see our firewalls, so this is a firewall private IP. So this IP we need to provide it to the inside the route. So now the same has been updated in both the routes. So this is for the first VM for this one, and another is for this one is for this VM. And we attached this user defined route to the subnet. So all the VMs inside this subnet will apply this rule, whatever the route we attached it now. So now we'll log into this VM and we'll try to access the internet. Like yesterday onward, the servers are not rebooted. So right now I'm inside this management host here. from internet from my laptop. I cannot able to access directly. So I logged in here. From this machine, I'll do SSH to this machine with the private IP. Now SSH 16.1.4. Before that, I did not created any rules inside the firewall. So let me go back and create the rules. Yesterday, when we are trying to create rules here, firewall, as I mentioned, uh, for better understanding. So this is the VM and this is the firewall we created. And this is like route tables which we created, routes. And inside these routes, we mentioned 0.0.0.0/0. This is a destination, and we provided firewall private IP here. This way we mentioned, and this is a route, and this is a firewall. And firewall IP is 10.10.2.4 and some public IP. Now we attached this to the subnet. So here, what are the subnet was there? To this subnet, we attached this one. So what are the VM to go to the internet? If VM want to go to the internet, then this way it should go. So here it is mentioned what firewall private IP. It will go here, and then this will take your request and will take you outside. But before that, you should write a rule here, same like NSG in firewall. Write firewall rules. Without firewall rules, even though you attached this route to your subnet, it doesn't mean that VMs of this subnet will go and talk to the internet. No, because firewall, again, you should write a rule whom you want to go outside. This route is just telling that use this path and go and talk to the internet. But once you come to this path, it will check whether you are allowed or not inside this firewall rules. So in the firewall rules, we are going to use the same thing: source IP and destination IP and protocol and port. So these are the 5 things, and action, whether allow or deny. So these are same like NSG. You are going to write it here based on this rule, then it will allow you. So now what I am going to do for this VM, this is the VM IP 170.16.1.4. This is IP of this VM. I will create a rule here, and then I'll allow to go and access the internet. But to write a rule here again, we have 2 things. If you see, once you go to the firewall rules, and then here if you see network rule collection and application rule collection. Network rule collection is same like NSG only. So you need to follow NSG procedure. Application rule is you can block the websites also. So first we'll try this one, network rule collection, add and name allow internet and priority 200, action allow. And here you can see IP address, name here, what name you want to give. Same allow internet for VM. This is the name I'm providing. And protocol, any, you can give TCP by default, but if you're not sure, you can just give any. And IP address, yes, I want to provide source type is IP address, because here source is what? VM. VM is having IP address. The source is IP address. And what is IP address? 170.116.1.4. If you are not sure, then go and check. So go to the VMs and check their virtual machines. And this is the project one VM. I am providing access now. 170.16.1.4. Same 170.16.1.4 and destination IP address. Yes, IP address only, but we don't know destination IP address. So what we are going to do? We are going to use star here. Means to access the internet, it can go and access anyone, right? So that's why we are not providing any specific address here. And ports is also any port destination. So you're just giving this information and add it. So once this rule is applied, then in the meantime, what I'll do, I log into this machine. Password. So curl google.com. So as of now, it says action deny, reason no rule matched. It is not allowing to access google.com with the help of this curl. Or else what we can do in the meantime, by the time this rule get applied, I'll create a Windows machine quickly, so that we can open Internet Explorer and we can try to access this one, right? So in the project one resource group, virtual machine, Windows VM1, proj win01. This way I will select, and instead of Ubuntu, I'll select Windows 2016, and then the size one. This one I'll select 4 GB. Username CloudFreak, and the password allow ports 339. Disks premium is not required, SSD is enough. The networking. So I'm selecting project 01 VNet by default. In this, I want to create this one. Now create. In the meantime, we'll go and check here whether rule is applied or not. Still not yet applied this rule. So for, as of now, I'm created rule for only for this VM to go and access the internet. In the same VNet, we are creating now one more VM called Windows VM now. This is the one. Then we'll test from here also later on, Windows VM. After that, same we can do for the another VNet, like this scenario. For this VNet, we have another route here. That route also attached to the subnet. So from this VM, we'll practice application collection rule. Okay. By that time, we'll see. Here rule is also got created. In the meantime, I'll select this create virtual machine button. Let it create. So now rule is applied. I'll go to the Linux machine. I'll try to access. Now, if you see, we can able to access the internet. Previously, we cannot able to access the internet because it did not find any rule. But now I can able to access the internet from this VM. What is this VM? If you see if config, this is an IP address. So here, in the firewall, we provided a rule that this IP should go and access the destination, any website it can go and access. You see curl yahoo.com. So this is a message we are getting. Each website will give different message, curl gmail.com. So you can able to access. See here. So yesterday, as I mentioned, instead of providing the private IP of firewall, I provided the public IP. So now this way you can allow a number of rules over here. If you don't want NSD, you can remove that NSD and you can assign it here, or else you can use both for VMs. You can use NSGs, and from here also you can allow or block where you want to go and access. So this is like outgoing. So now if you have multiple IPs, then just give comma and give IP here, or else if you want to give it for that complete subnet, then 172.16.1.0/24, that subnet you can give, because you are assigned that to the subnet right here. This one, the route you assigned it to the associated to the subnet. So this complete subnet also you can provide. Then whatever the VMs inside the subnet will apply the same rule from the firewall here. As of now, I mentioned only single VM. Then it can go and access the internet, and whatever you want you can do. And instead of IP, you can mention in the firewall rule here source complete network name. Then it is going to apply to all the IPs which is inside the subnet. That way also it is possible. Here you can give it that way. So this is how we will configure network rule collection, and we'll see whether Windows machine also got deployed. Now what I'll do, I'll take this IP, Windows machine IP, because this is also created in this subnet. But in the firewall rule, I mentioned only this machine IP, right? So what I'll do, I'll change it, comma, sorry, here 4, comma. So one is Linux IP, one is Windows IP. So Windows also I'm providing the complete access to go and access the internet. Save, updated the rule now. Now let me go and take the same. Okay. But this machine now I cannot connect. Why? Because this machine I did not create a Windows machine. If I would have created this as a Windows machine, from here I could able to reach the Windows machine which I created. But this is a Linux machine. From Linux machine I cannot connect to the Windows machine now. Directly we cannot able to reach there. You just give a try, okay? So instead of you guys, this machine management machine, create a Windows machine, right? And from there you can try creating here also Windows machine, try to access from the Windows server. Understood? Why I created the Windows machine here, because now to show you guys, if I go to the browser and if I type show my IP, then it will show you the firewall IP. When it is trying to access the internet, this machine is also now trying to access the internet and it can able to access, but it will not show you. Let me try trace route google.com. It will not show you firewall IP, but it is showing you. If you see this one 10.10.2.7, this is the IP of this firewall subnet. 10.10.2.7 is a subnet of firewall. So it reaches till here, and from there it will take the request and the firewall will take and it will send it to the external world. Understood? So this is how we can confirm, means it's going, the next hope is going to the 10.10.2.7, means it is going to this subnet, and from here it is going outside. If it is a Windows machine, then we can just check what is my IP. Then it will show this public Azure Firewall public IP here. Like in our browser google.com, if you see what is my IP address, I think there should be a. So this is my IP, right? Same way, if you create a Windows machine and execute this same name, what is my IP? It should show the firewall IP from this Windows machine. But that machine IP should be allowed here to go and access the internet. Then you can able to view this IP. In that way, you can able to know that it is going via firewall. Now, with this machine, we'll do the experiment. With this, we'll do experiment for application rule collection. So now what I'm going to do, add application rule collection, and here allow Google. So this is the name I'm providing, and priority is 200. I'm allowing, and here this is incoming and this is outgoing. So anyhow, we are trying to go and access the internet, so this will be the outgoing. Allow Google, the name I'm providing. Source, obviously IP address, because this machine is an IP address. VM is trying to go and access Google. So now what we are going to do here, source IP is 172.17.1.4. This machine IP is this machine IP 170.70.1.4. If you want to give complete subnet, then give, then all the machines from this subnet will have access or deny, whatever action you select here. And now protocol, obviously websites applications will run on HTTP and HTTPS protocol, so you should use HTTP, HTTPS, both secured or not non-secured. And here I will give www.gmail.com. Before I select add here, I'll connect to the machine. So I'll connect to this machine now. So right now I'm in the project one. So I should exit. When I exit, then I disconnected from the project one server. I'm inside the hub RG, this machine. From here, again, I'm connecting to this machine. Now SSH 172.17.1.4 password. You see now project 02 VM. Previously I was in project 01 VM. Now from this machine, as of now, the same this router has been attached to this subnet. Same here also. This is subnet and there is a VM. It is attached, but it cannot go and access the internet because in the firewall there is no such rule for this VM or to the subnet to go and access it. It will go till here, but from here it cannot go outside. So in the firewall, we are writing application collection rule. So here we are going to write a rule to allow Google, only google.com, not other sites. So now what we are going to do here, so we just want to check that curl google.com, no, curl www.google.com, not able to access. Sorry, here I'm providing Gmail, right? So I should try, but here I mentioned, look, I'll do one thing, Google. So no access to the google.com as of now from this server. We'll try add. Let's see once this is updated. Any site, curl gmail.com. No website you can able to access this machine. So once this rule gets updated, then it will work. Okay, done. Now I'll try say machine curl www.google.com. See, now I can able to access this one. I'll just clear my screen. Curl www.google.com. This is the outcome. Previously, I was not getting this output, right? So this is a curl complete HTML page is available now. So right now, this IP can only able to access google.com, but not everything, right? So now what I'm going to do now, I will uh, access curl www.gmail.com. So this machine can only able to access google.com, but not gmail.com or any other site. Let's say galaxytech.com. No, not able to access. Understood? So this way you can allow and block. You want to block some website, that is also possible, and you can allow, that is also possible. So if you go here, if you want to create more rules, then also it is possible. So by default, you don't need to deny anything, because by default everything is denied. If you want to allow a few websites, then only it is possible. So right now I want to allow galaxytech.com also. As of now, curl www.galaxytech.com. So it is not working. So I'm going to create a new rule now. Go back, add application rule. Priority is 300. Sorry, name, allow Galaxy site, and the priority is 300. Action allow, and target FQN allow Galaxy site. Source is IP address, and source IP address 172.17.1.4, and protocol HTTP and HTTPS. Target FQN www.galaxytech.com. This is a new rule. Okay. So again, create a new rule. So let's see now. As of now, I cannot able to access curl maybe I cannot see now. Once it is created, then only I can see it in the new rule. So this is completed. Let me see. Okay. It will take time. So it is now updating. In the meantime, parallelly we can try curl www.galaxytech.com. So not yet updated the rule. firewall rules are taking a lot of time to apply. It is completed. galaxytech.com, same right? galaxytech.com. One 17.17.1.4 HTTPS. Again made a mistake. I think this is completed. Now I'll clear the screen. So now if you see galaxy.com, galaxytech.com, we can able to access it. Understood? So this way you can allow or you can block to specific IPs or specific subnets also you can provide inside that rules. So this is about the firewall.